Welcome back to One Comic Book a Day, where we're covering Superman issue 75 and the final story, The Man Who Stole Memories. An Eternal Sunshine sort of plot, though not really that. That would be a better story. Now let's get into this story really quickly. Lois and Clark are sent to report on a scientist who has built a sort of ray gun that erases memories. Does that really steal memories? I guess it has to steal memories if it can restore memories later. But before that happens, they run into some crime. Clark changes into Superman, saves the day, bright blue costume, red cape, goes into the alley to change, and Lois catches him. So now he's worried that his identity has been revealed. Oh no, once again, we're dealing with this. Because that seems to be like the biggest problem he's dealing with in the 1950s, other than having to teach Lois lessons. And though the story isn't, I was about to say overtly sexist towards Lois, it might be overtly sexist to Lois. I'm taking that back. Because you see, the problem is solved immediately when they go to report as Lois, being, Dee Dee from Dexter's laboratory, presses buttons randomly in someone's lab with a ray gun and gets her memories erased. So she doesn't remember anything, which Clark doesn't seem too worried about because it solved his problem. Also, the professor needs time to make the ray able to restore memories, so they leave. Now, this then becomes a story, for the moment, where Clark is trying to restore Lois's memories of who Superman is, because she doesn't like Superman immediately. She's very cold towards him, but she falls for Superman after he picks her up and throws her around. Because if there's one thing I know about women is how much they love it when men come up to them unconsensually, pick them up and throw them into the air. Story solved, right? Well, no, that's only the halfway point. Now, I've said over and over again that Superman stories should take advantage of the 14 pages by sort of sacrificing the first half of the story in setting up the threat, us getting to know the threat, really wanting that threat to be taken care of. If it's an antagonist or an idea or a concept, just use the first half of the story to build to it, so when Superman usually easily walks through it, it's way more enjoyable to see him stop something that we've spent the first half of the story being angry about or upset about happening. This is a weird story in the sense that the first half of the story sets up a story where he's going to have to fix Lois, and then the second half of the story is, hey, some criminals want that ray gun. So the criminals get their hands on the ray gun to do crime with it. What kind of crime? Well, they erase a train conductor and a pilot's memory while they're driving their specific vehicle, which causes crashes, and I don't see where the profit is in that. The last one involves banks and lightouts, but that works. Other than creating massive chaos, it doesn't seem like much of a criminal plan. Not for a blackmailing, racketeering group, which is what they are. Not say terrorists. If they're the fifth column, this would work. So for the final part of the story, Superman needs to find the professor who they've hidden, and Superman ends up outsmarting them by convincing them that a conscience machine works, when it's actually just Superman's ventriloquism making him think he can hear his conscience. I can't believe how often his ventriloquism not only is used to solve a problem, but how often it actually does happen. It's a really useful ability. I would have not expected that the first time he threw that out, but man, has it gotten him out of some scrapes. I feel like there needs to be a video talking about how useful his ventriloquism has been, and maybe we should bring back his ventriloquism abilities. But once he finds them, it restores Lois's memories, and what had originally been the main problem of this comic, but eventually the motivation changed halfway through it. The first and second half almost have nothing to do with each other. That's also a little bit bigger problem of the story. They don't exactly have to run into each other specifically. They do connect, but they do still feel like different stories are being accomplished, especially the fact that Lois is not really in the second half as much, because if the problem was we need to get him back to fix Lois, why isn't Lois more in the second half of the story? It's now more about taking down the criminals. Lois gets her memories back, and it turns out she didn't see Superman change. No, she just thinks Clark is being a coward, which I don't know if that's a surprise, because that's been the main point of Clark since the beginning. That's what she knows about him. She used to think he was a pathetic worm, so how was that a big deal at that moment? It should have been just oh, Clark, you're just being Clark, not a Superman. So one of these stories I'm more neutral on. In some ways it's functioning, especially that first half of the story, but it loses me in the second half with having to essentially create something for Superman to fight and not something for Superman to fix, which usually I'm more into those stories of him fixing things. He helps the good. I like that. Okay, that is it from Superman 75. The Man Who Stole Memories. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to get notifications when a new video goes up. I do this Monday through Friday, but Fridays is Bat Friday, where I cover a Batman story in either Detective Comics or Batman. And until next time, let's ponder the question, whatever did happen to the Man of Tomorrow? And seriously, what happened to his ventriloquism abilities? Okay, have a great day.